Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Relationship Show. I'm your host, Midori Verity, and today I cannot even tell you how excited I am about the guest that we have today. Her name is Tina Aldatz, and whenever I bring these shows to you, I really think about who I'm going to choose to have come or who I'm going to invite to be on my show. I always want to bring someone on who can inspire, who can motivate, who can encourage you to live the best life that you can. And I have nailed that with Tina. She has done all of those, and she has an amazing story. But let me tell you a little bit about her. So she has a story about survival and perseverance like no other. And she went from an incredibly tumultuous upbringing to founding a business that was based on something that she felt she needed and selling that for $14 million. And now she has gone on, she started a new business, Savvy Travelers, which she's going to tell us about. The first business was Petals, which I had, and I used them, and it saved me so many times, and we'll have her talk about that too. But she has been recognized by all kinds of huge media outlets, including, Forbes magazine recognized her as an entrepreneur to watch. She was recognized by the Inc. 500 as one of the 500 fastest growing companies in America, which is huge when you think of all the companies out there. This is her own company. And she's just been featured in all kinds of things. So not only is she a business powerhouse who's overcome so many odds, but the best part that really brought it home for me is what she's doing now and how she's giving back to her community. And especially in how she is helping young women similar to her and helping them really find success in business and in their own society and in life. So welcome, Tina. How are you?
I'm fabulous and so happy and honored to be a part of your show. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're going to jump in because we have so many questions for you. And like I told you earlier, I could go on and on. I could do a whole series with Tina. But let's see what we can get done today. So I want you to start from the beginning. I want you to tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing and how that has helped make you who you are today.
Okay, so I guess they say don't judge a book by its cover, right? I'm often in environments where it's, a lot of powerful CEOs or business people. And what's interesting is that I actually represent a very tiny piece of that pie. If the pie is like this and there's that 2 percentile,
mm-hmm.
That 2 percentile means that you make $250,000 or more. Well, this pie just keeps getting smaller and smaller when you think about the fact that I'm Hispanic. So I'm Latina. Pie just got little 2% got way smaller. I'm female. I'm a self-made millionaire, which means that I wasn't born into a privileged life. In fact, I was born into an extremely socioeconomically disadvantaged life, meaning my mother and father had domestic violence issues. My mother's Irish, my father's Mexican. So you can't get me drunk or piss me off. It ends up either really good or really bad.
Okay, good mental note.
So the point is that culture clash and turbulence and domestic violence ensued upon our family. And ultimately at 9 years old, I ended up in a shelter with my mother and my brother and sister for battered women because my father almost murdered my mom. Then from that, we were in hiding for a year. We got to come out for one weekend. And the one weekend we went to the beach, I ran over hot coals that were buried in the sand by accident when I was 9 years old. Flash forward, I end up at UC Irvine, which is in California. It was one of the only burn centers in the world in 1978. And that's where I was treated, which caused my mom and us to have to be relocated here. Well, we lived on welfare and HUD housing and all of these government-assisted programs, which was a very difficult thing. What happened from that burn eventually propelled me into being, I guess, an opportunistic entrepreneur. I took an injury that occurred to me as a little girl to the bottoms of my feet, totally burned all the skin off, and eventually created cushions that you wear in high heels that make them more comfortable, because my fantasy was always to be a businesswoman and walk in New York City carrying a briefcase. So when I eventually made it to the big city, I got my briefcase and I started walking, but I grew up in LA and nobody walks in LA. It's just, we don't do that. So I got this, wild idea that I was still going to wear my cool, high, sexy pumps. And I didn't know that working girl mentality actually was from, like back in the 90s, people wore their sneakers and their outfits, which they still do today, but I just couldn't go there. Bottom line is I created a cushion for high heels that spiraled into a product that eventually was sold globally. I got super lucky because did you know that Patricia Field was one of our first clients? She was the costume designer at the time for Sex and the City. So all the girls at Sex and the City on the set wore foot pedals, and it just kept going and going and going. And we grew this company literally from my kitchen table to a $10 million annual sales in 65 countries, okay? And eventually, how I went from stilettos to the stock exchange, we sold the company for $14 million to a publicly traded company. And that company, we watched them trade foot pedals on the market. And so it was really, really crazy. But the upbringing and the obstacles along the way, would I have ever guessed in a million years at 9 years old, having this terrible burn injury would eventually lead me to a destiny of being an entrepreneur?
But did you, because you see so many people, to be successful in business, meaning you were able to sell your business for, it's a relative amount of money. It doesn't matter, but you had success in business. And to go from living in a shelter with your mother and your brother and sister to where you grew up, it's not like this was normal for you. This was new. This was a new type of mentality. How did you do that? How did you overcome those mental obstacles? Do you have just a couple tips for our listeners?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is don't let your circumstances define you. One of the moments that really hit me as a child, a 9-year-old child, and I still have this issue today, is my sister and I were super excited because we got to pick out as much clothes as we wanted from this area in the shelter where they just had, people gave donations. So I was doing a full-on fashion show. We were hooking it up. And then I saw the nun in the back. She was pulling things out of a trash bag and boxes. And it occurred to me, and I told my little sister, take those clothes off and just let's go. We don't need this. So I realized I felt embarrassed and ashamed for my circumstances. And as I grew up, I've always worked very hard on my appearance. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love fashion so much, because fashion can transform a person. You can utilize it good or bad, however you want, but it can actually create a persona. And I think that was very fun for me. But it was a realization at that point that I didn't want to be a charity case. And it was very embarrassing and shameful. So I've worked hard to kind of overcome that stigma that's attached to being poor, being Mexican, being, a girl, being all of these things that come along with that.
Right. No, I find that fascinating. And it's true. You kind of fake it till you make it. And so by looking pretty or paying some more attention to your outer looks until you can get everything else there too, it's all mental.
It is.
And you did it.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. It was kind of like, you can aspire to be who you are, and you can do that every day on your actions. I went to work. I worked very hard. I didn't finish high school. I only finished 10th grade, and then I obtained my GED, and I worked full time. But within that time that I was from when I was 15 to 25, I worked for companies that I wanted to aspire to. So I worked like for BCBG Max Azria. I worked for Victoria's Secret. And working in those retail environments, I became an expert at something, and that's at retail and merchandising. So whatever it is that's your passion, that's the thing that you got to kind of stick to, because that's your calling. And then no matter how hard you're working, believe me, I worked at retail in South Coast Plaza. That's like one of the biggest malls in the world. And working retail, you're just eat, live, breathe, retail hours. So you got to love it or it'll kill you.
You're totally right. I worked in retail for a little while and I realized this ain't for me. It was not my passion. So I can totally, but where I'm at now, I totally get what you're saying. And that's what I preach to people I work with is follow your passion. That's where you have to be to keep it going.
Yes. Exactly. Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit about your business, because a lot of the people who watch our shows are business minded, or they want to become entrepreneurs or take it to the next stage. So you have a mantra and you talk about the 6 essentials for business. So tell us about those.
Okay. So the 6 essentials, it's not something I just made up magically. I was actually taught this. I had a mentor. Our mentor, my mentor from our first company was our angel investor. So I started Petals literally at my kitchen table. My best friend was in New York, and we were both doing this with scraping together every last penny we had. We got it to a certain point, and this angel investor came in and invested $10,000. Well, he carried us through for a whole year, but he taught me 2 things. The first is the word infrastructure. So you're only as strong as your infrastructure. And I was like, what does that even mean? Of course, I'm only a 10th grade education, so I'd have to kind of try to visualize things to understand it sometimes. And I was thinking, we live in California, and we're always taught about infrastructure because our buildings are made with certain bars and on wheels to withstand an earthquake. So I was like, so it's what holds you together. It's the foundation. So infrastructure. Then he said, here's the 3 things that you need to know about a business plan. Because no matter what, whenever you're starting a business plan, everybody's going to ask you, where's your business plan? Where's your business plan? If you're an entrepreneur, it sounds like a great idea. Where's the business plan? I was like, I couldn't even, I couldn't even stand it. I was going crazy because it was very frustrating. I didn't know how to write a business plan. So here it is. Here's how to write a business plan. And if you could answer these questions, you got your business plan. Money. These are the 3 M's. The first M is money. How much money do you need? Where is it going to be? When do you need it? Okay. And when will I see a return on my investment? So if you're asking people to give you money, how much do you need? Now, I knew that I needed $250,000 in order to get us to a next growth phase. We didn't need $250,000 the first day. I only needed $10,000. Then I needed another 20. Then I needed 20. So it was spread out over the course of the year. So money, when do you need it? How much? Where is it going to go? And when do we expect to see a return? So how am I going to get that money back? That's the first M, money.
Okay.
Then the second M is marketing. Who is going to find your product? How are you going to advertise and market your product? Meaning, are you going to pay for advertising? Are you going to do, social media? Are you going to have a publicist? Are you going to do bus bench ads? What is it? How are you going to do that? What's going to drive the customer to action? So that's the marketing aspect, right? So you got money and you got marketing. Then you take those 3 questions that I asked about money and you apply them to the marketing. How much money do you need to make this initiative happen? Where is it going to go? When is it going to come out? What are you going to get back? So then you keep doing it. And then the marketing side then goes into management. Management is so important, and I think that a lot of us miss that. And as I become more and more, grown more with business, I've learned that management is so important, meaning let the experts do their job. So who's going to manage the finances? Now that means accounting, inventory, bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, human resources. None of that matters at all if you don't have one thing. Sales.
Oh.
Who is going to manage the sales, right? Hello, that's the most important. Without having sales and revenue coming in, you don't have a business. So you won't need a manager. You don't need an accountant. You don't need, an office. You don't need a desk or any of those things, because if you have no money from your sales and management team and you get the top dogs in that genre or that area to come with you, that's how you build a company. But you've got to lay out the foundation with the 3 M's. So if you can just keep asking yourself, money, management, marketing, right? Money, management, marketing. How is that all going to happen? That's a business plan. If you can answer every single one of those questions back and forth, you know your business.
That's awesome. I love that. You just simplified it so much. I obviously need to go back and redo my business plan.
But you know what? Now the thing is, if you already have a business plan, now you're going to look at it from a perspective of the buyer. And if you put yourself in the shoes of the person that will potentially write you the check, and you ask yourself all of the questions that they might ask, how can they say no?
Good point. Good. How can they say no? There you go. But you have to know.
The only reason they're going to say no, if it really does make sense, is if, number one, they don't feel it, or number two, they just don't have the money. So move on down the line,
right. Right. And did you encounter that quite a bit as you had your beautiful business plan? How far did you have to go was it a home run from the very beginning, or how far did you have to go till you found the right person to invest in, believe in your company?
Well, the first thing, I was extremely fortunate. My very best friend and I worked together in fashion when we were 25. So when we started Foot Petals, she's the master guru of sales. I'm the idea, like merchandising, the marketing, all the logistical stuff, the back end. But if you don't have the sales, so she and I together, she joined on and she quit her job, and we both just went for it together at the same time. So sales and marketing, merchandising, I already had pretty covered. Now, the money part, that's where I really didn't have it. So I went to the angel investor, and this is the weird thing, okay? He agreed to take lunch with me, and I knew that he was an investor. I didn't know what an angel investor really was. I didn't know. So all I wanted him to do was shoot holes in my presentation so that when I took it to the real investors, I would have an A+ pitch. Little did I know that at the time, he listened to the whole entire pitch, and with his wife, and don't kid yourself, the wives really are the ones of the bosses that make all the
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So she and he both, at the end of lunch, I was like, so what can I do when I take my presentation to the investors? He was like, well, how much do you need? And I was like, well, this is what I need. And he wrote a check that minute and said, here's $10,000. And I was like, totally Joe Cool, all right, and then got in my car and I was like, oh my God, cried all the way home for like an hour drive. And he said, you don't need to go any further, but how much of a partnership do you want to do? And I said, 50-50. And a lot of people didn't really agree with that, but I needed his experience, expertise, and his money in order to mentor me and to take it further. We could have held on to a very tiny pie, or we could take a smaller piece of a much bigger pie. And so in the very beginning, I think I got extremely lucky, but as we grew, there was a part in the book when you finish reading it, you're going to find this one part where you're just going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. So we didn't have any money left, but I had tons of orders. Okay. So all these department stores and stores had placed orders, and we were just like high-fiving, rolling in, we thought we were like rolling in the deep right there. So we had to actually get a call from our manufacturer, and they said, if you don't pay your bill, we're not shipping. And I was like, oh my God, I can't pay the bill. I have to ship, and then the clients will pay, and then I'll pay you. And they're like, don't work that way, sorry. So I literally had to hop on a plane in the middle of the night, get on a red eye, changed in the bathroom at Akron, Ohio airport, put a suit on, rented a little car, and drove to the factory and sat in front of 5 men that owned the factory in Ohio. And these are like the good old boys. Like, what are you doing here, little girl? Yeah. Oh my God. So I get there, and it was like a Godfather moment. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And I really prayed that they would buy into it. So they agreed to buy out my original investor, where he kept a smaller piece. So here it comes again. How much of the pie do you want to maintain, and what makes sense? But we, with their expertise, their infrastructure, their ERP systems and everything, we were so lucky because we got to expand the business and they footed the bill. So at this point, we went from $600,000 a year to $10 million a year with the help of these people. So it's all about strategic partnerships and making that decision, for the betterment of the company and your employees, and how are you going to make it work? And then eventually we sold the whole shebang, but I was still the single largest shareholder. So personally, I walked away with $6 million cash in my pocket.
Gosh. Now, there was one part in your book where, and I did not read this part, but someone told me about it. I'm like, wow, that's huge. So I believe it was during around 2008 when everyone's money was gone. And your business took a big hit because you had a lot of corporate clients so everyone understands, when you are in retail, those big corporate clients don't pay you in the beginning, they pay you later. So you are out for the costs from the beginning. Is that correct?
Oh, that's 100% correct. This is what they call it. They call it ADP, and that's average days to pay. Okay, so that's how long does it take for your receivables to actually hit your bank? Our average days for our customers to pay us was like 120 days. Okay, we would eventually get paid, but a lot of that, it was just taking so long that we were basically bankrolling the whole business, right? And their businesses too. So we implemented a system that turned everything around and made our company so much more profitable and so much stronger, faster. You know how when you pay for a service or you pay with a credit card and they're like, oh yeah, we'll accept your credit card, but we're going to charge you 3%. I was like, how stupid is that? It's more than 3% for us to keep our money out there for 120 days. How about this, Mr. Shoe store guy, how about you pay us with your credit card the day that we ship your product? You still have 30 days from your credit card company, and I'll give you an extra 5% discount on no matter what you buy. And they were like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? And some of the big companies even called us. We sent out a letter to every single accounting officer, and we said, this is our new program. And some of the biggest companies that you wouldn't even have thought called and said, are you guys for real? And we said, yeah, we're for real. Well, can I pay you with a credit card? It's a $100,000 charge. And we're like, heck yes. And you'll give us a 5% discount. Happily. Yes.
Wow. And that's the thing. That's where you have to because when you get into these big companies, sometimes you think, well, this is the way it's always been. This is the way it always has to be. And who am I to come in and say, hey, we are going to change it up. We're going to do it differently. That takes balls to do that. And that's what I love about you, but that's what it takes to be successful. I talk a lot with my clients about breaking through those fears, because once you can break through those fears, so much can happen. Look at you. What happened? You were able to still stay in business and thrive, and you made it happen. It's huge.
Like the lows were so low, but the highs were so high, Yeah.
It's whatever it takes. Okay, so you sold your business. I'm fast forwarding a little bit. You sold your business for $14 million. And now you have started a new venture, Savvy Travelers, which is so cool. And I told her I already have plans for my little packages that I have. But tell us about that and your inspiration there.
Okay. So as you know, my best friend and I, she was in New York and I was in California. So we were always traveling the globe, and, you know, I could be sitting out by my pool working on my laptop, and she'll be like, you know, we're meeting in Minneapolis tomorrow, and it's like below zero. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. So I was always like packing too much stuff, or we were lugging around all this stuff and having to check bags. Just became, with security and TSA restrictions, just became so cumbersome, so time consuming, and so costly that we finally made this challenge to ourselves. And we're like, look, we're just going to do whatever it takes. No matter where we're going, we're going to do carry-on. And so when we said we're going to do carry-on, one of the biggest challenges, and here's where I totally blew my top. One of those TSA guys, I had my little baggie, you know, with liquids inside, and I had a 4-ounce bottle of like really expensive serum, you know, for my eyes, and they confiscated it. And I was like, oh man, I just know you're giving it to your wife after work. Anyway, that was like where Margie and I were kind of like, what could we do? And we discovered we could do wipes. So we made individually wrapped wipes for every single like use. Wiping down your tray table. This is like a facial cleanser, toner, moisturizer, all in one. So you can literally like take off all your makeup, and then you just, you know, stick it back inside and toss it. So that's, you know, that's the concept of Savvy Travelers. We make on-the-go products fabulous so that you're fresh and you're ready for your meetings. I mean, you were just traveling yesterday. So, you know, you forget your deodorant, you forget your toothbrush, you forget, or you just don't want to get up and go to the bathroom on the plane, but you've got to jam to your next meeting. So this is a really funny one. I'll show you. This is probably one of our best products, and we used this before the Grammys with all the celebrities. Can you see it? It's called Speak Easy.
Speak Easy.
I love to do this to people, and you can tell if you're a trustworthy person, because I go, oh, take it out. I go, now lick it, and they're like, some people are like, what? And other people are like, you know. So this one, it literally is a wipe with mouthwash, so you can clean your teeth and your tongue, wipe away your coffee breath, have lunch, whatever, and then you can stick it back in the thing, throw it in your purse, and discard of it, you know, discreetly. But you're walking in with a ding.
So you guys have to know, I was just telling Tina, yesterday I had to go for my son's baseball game into San Francisco. So it was about a 30-minute drive, and I had to leave early in the day, and before that I was busting my butt to get all my work done. So I wasn't super prepared. I just kind of grabbed my jacket, grabbed my purse, and I was out the door. So right before my meeting in San Francisco, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have any breath mints. I actually forgot my deodorant that morning, but there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Had I put her kit and always had it in my purse, those problems would be solved. So, you know, whether you're going to a meeting anywhere or you're going to a baseball game, it doesn't matter. Just having those little things makes our life so much better. So I think it's brilliant. Regardless of whether you're traveling on a plane or not, I think it's just important to always have it. It's so easy and they're so thin. Yeah. I love the concept. Love, love, love it.
We're like, no water, no problem, because you don't have to rinse. You know, it's all about just ease of use.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other part that I love about this, Tina, is you started this business with your best friend. Am I right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Same with Petals, the same best friend. So what does that tell you? We're still best friends?
I love it. So are you guys at the point where you finish each other's sentences and...
Totally. Oh my God, for sure. Like beyond. Yeah.
Just having your best friend right there with you to go through all the challenges and everything else. What a way to live your life.
And I think that as women, we don't necessarily think about things that way. You know, it's not so often that you see two best friends that work together and hang out together and have fun together. Right? So it's kind of like Gail and Oprah, I guess. We're like the Latinas of that world.
Well, or Rodan and Fields. They're still best friends. They're
Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, or Thelma and Louise. Yeah. There's different levels all over the place. I love it. But yeah, so that's what I really admire about you, is that you have found what you love and what you want, and you've gone after it and you've made it happen, and it's all worked. And I know that there's been a lot of, it just wasn't a smooth ride.
No, I mean, it's never a smooth ride. Don't kid yourself. And don't think that, we're lucky, because this is most certainly a choice, and there are a lot of sacrifices along the way. I mean, I don't have children. That was a choice. It was, there's things that you have to adamantly know whether or not you can stomach it. And being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. But for those of us, there are a lot of responsibility comes along with it, because you're responsible for people's jobs, you're responsible for livelihood, you're responsible to our economy, you're responsible to our communities. There's a lot that comes along with it, and I take all of those things very seriously.
I agree. And it shows that you have, and that you're dedicated, and that's what it takes. It's not hard, but I mean, it is hard. It's insanely hard. In fact, I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a few screws. You have to be a little bit crazy.
Oh, definitely. We're not
guilty.
And it's important that people understand that the creative people, or the people that kind of, go out there and make ideas happen, need support and infrastructure by the skilled people that we surround ourselves with. So I could say, oh, I have this beautiful vision. I want to get the moon, the stars, a shooting star in there. And can we also get one spaceship? And it's like, okay, well, who's actually going to be like, Tina, you can have one moon, no stars, maybe a spaceship, but definitely no shooting stars,
Right.
So you got to have that sensible balance, and you got to have all the people that go back to the 3 M's. Who's going to manage the money? Who's going to be the marketing? Who's going to handle the management? So it's all that all the time.
Right. No, I love it. Okay. So I told you, I bragged a little bit about her products, which I love, but Tina has a special offer for us too. She has a special gift for us. So I want you to explain to us what it is, and then how to get that as well.
Okay, so you just go to savvytravelers.com, savvytravelers.com. When you join our mailing list and you enter the code Midori, Midori, then you will receive at no cost, absolutely free shipping, everything. We're going to send you a whole package with every single one of our Savvy Traveler wipes. From head to toe, we've got you covered. This is called Liquid Courage. In this bag, you will also receive a VIP card, and the VIP card will give you a discount permanently that you get to share with friends and family and use yourself forever for the lifetime of our brand for 20% off. So all of this stuff free just for joining our database and being fans of Midori.
I love it. I so encourage you to take advantage of it, because once you have it, you'll realize, oh my gosh, how did I live without it? Seriously. Yeah, it's not that I'm an affiliate. It's just that it's true. It's having those little, those things that help us out in our lives are so valuable. So I appreciate you offering that to everybody.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on as a guest today.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I know that you're so busy, and we did have some technical issues, so I appreciate you sticking with me and working through all of those. But it's been a pleasure having you on my show and sharing all these incredibly important tidbits for our lives, and also for those of us who are interested in being entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs and ready to take it to the next stage. So thank you once again for sharing all that. And I hope I get another opportunity to have you back, because I have a plethora of questions.
Let's do it anytime. You know my number.
Great. Sounds good. Okay, you guys. So if you did not catch the information on how to get your free gift, and to get also more information about Tina and her book is phenomenal. I am in the middle of it, and I will probably finish it tonight, because there are great lessons and stories in there. But just go to my website, MidoriVerity.com, and I will have all of Tina's information there for you. So I encourage you to do that as well. So once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Tina, and I look forward to seeing you next time.